Here's the truth. You don't want to audit. Your life is a ledger, and the numbers don't care about your excuses. Every morning you make deposits of discipline or debits of delay. You say you'll change when it's the right time, but the ledger only counts what you actually do. Intentions don't clear, actions do. One more scroll, one more promise to start tomorrow. Those are tiny withdrawals that become an overdraft on your potential. Meanwhile, the quiet few are compounding small, boring deposits into a balance called confidence, credibility, and cash flow. You think you need a miracle. You need a method. And the first shock is this: you're not unlucky, you're unaccounted. If that stings, good. Stay with me, because in the next minutes I'll show you how to turn your ledger from red to unstoppable black. Let's start here. The ledger of your life never closes. The ink is always wet, and every choice you make writes a new line. You may think life keeps its records in secret, but it doesn't. Every late morning, every broken promise, every hour of learning, every moment of courage, it's all entered automatically. You are both the accountant and the auditor of your destiny. And whether you choose to check the books or not, the numbers are running. Here's what most people never understand. The universe operates like a flawless accounting system. It pays dividends on discipline and charges interest on neglect. Miss a few workouts, skip a few goals, make a few excuses, and suddenly your balance sheet of life starts dipping into deficits. Not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly, invisibly. Just like a business that ignores its daily expenses, your future goes bankrupt one small, careless decision at a time. Discipline is a deposit. Excuse is a debit. Planning is a deposit. Drifting is a debit. Reading, learning, serving, those are deposits. Complaining, blaming, doubting, those are withdrawals. It's not the big decisions that determine your fortune. It's the accumulation of small, seemingly insignificant ones. That's the paradox of success. Everything counts, but almost nothing seems to count today. You don't become wealthy by making one giant deposit of $1 million. You become wealthy by saving a few hundred consistently, persistently over time. You don't become wise by reading one life-changing book in a single night. You become wise by reading 10 pages a day, not missing a single one. It's not dramatic, but it's deliberate. And in this ledger, the deliberate always outlasts the desperate. Here's a simple truth that will change your life if you let it. Intentions don't get recorded, only actions do. Life doesn't credit you for the goals you meant to pursue, the dreams you planned to start, or the promises you almost kept. The books don't lie. If you said you'd start your business but didn't, debit. If you said you'd make that call, write that chapter, take that walk, but pushed it off, debit. Meanwhile, every small act of progress, no matter how tiny, goes in as credit, silently accumulating power while no one is watching. That's why awareness is everything. The people who grow, the ones who achieve, the ones who transform, they all have one habit in common. They check their ledger. They pay attention. They stop at the end of the day and ask, did today move me forward or did I slip behind? They don't do it out of guilt, they do it out of growth. Because what you measure, you can manage. And what you ignore, you eventually lose. Here's the real cost of ignorance. When you don't look at your own numbers, you end up comparing them to everyone else's. You scroll through other people's highlights, their houses, their success, their vacations, but you never check your own progress. You become an accountant for their achievements and a stranger to your own. And the tragedy is your own balance keeps running whether you track it or not. Every minute you envy, you make another withdrawal from your focus account. Every moment you procrastinate, you pay a penalty called lost momentum. So stop pretending the books will balance themselves. They won't. Life is fair, brutally fair to the discipline. The more you deposit, the more it compounds. The less you care, the more you pay. Picture this. At the end of each week, you walk into the bank of life. The teller slides your statement across the counter. On it are the totals of your week, the hours you invested, the promises you kept, the moments you wasted, the excuses you made. You feel a twinge, sometimes pride, sometimes regret. But here's the beautiful part. There's always another deposit waiting tomorrow. You can't rewrite yesterday's balance, but you can start building today's. The best time to make a deposit is when you least feel like it. That's the moment that compounds the most. Every time you act against your own comfort, you make a deposit into the account of character. Every time you do what's right over what's easy, you increase your internal wealth. And over the years, that balance becomes unstoppable. People will look at you and call it luck. You'll know better it was the accumulation of tiny acts done faithfully when no one applauded. Now let's look at your habits. Because habits are the recurring transactions of your life. They are automatic withdrawals or automatic deposits. If you wake up early, plan your day, study, reflect, and execute, you're investing in your long-term fortune. But if you sleep in, react to problems, waste time on distractions, and justify every delay, then you're spending tomorrow's opportunity today. Remember this principle. You can't outperform your ledger. You can only withdraw what you've deposited. People want success without the discipline that funds it. They want freedom without the responsibility that earns it. They want confidence without the hours of preparation that build it. It doesn't work that way. The universe only pays what you've earned, not what you've wished for. The difference between winners and wanderers isn't that one group works harder every day. It's that they manage their accounts better. They invest their energy wisely. They choose deposits that yield interest, wisdom, relationships, health, self-respect, and avoid expenses that drain their capital, gossip, laziness, fear, and ego. Here's the last thing to remember for today. Life rewards the consistent, not the intense. One great act of courage won't build your fortune, but 1,000 small ones will. You don't have to overhaul your life in one weekend. You only need to start with one honest deposit today, 1 hour of reading, 1 note of gratitude, 1 step of discipline, 1 act of integrity. Add it to your ledger and watch what happens over time, because those small entries, compounded daily, become the story of your success. Now the question is simple. When you close your eyes tonight, what kind of balance will you see? A ledger of excuses or a record of growth? Because the numbers are always adding up and they don't lie. Let's talk about the other side of your ledger, the withdrawals you don't notice until the account is nearly empty. Everyone loves to talk about making deposits, hard work, good habits, positive thinking. But the truth is, even the best deposits can't survive if your hidden debits keep bleeding your balance dry. Success leaks from the smallest cracks, and most people never stop to find where they're losing it. Procrastination. That's the first silent thief. It never announces itself with noise or drama. It just whispers, later. And you believe it. You think you're saving energy, preserving willpower, but what you're really doing is writing a quiet check your future self will have to cash. Every "I'll do it tomorrow" is a withdrawal from your confidence account. You pay interest in anxiety, in regret, in self-doubt. And one day, you realize the task hasn't just grown heavier, you have grown weaker for having delayed it. Let me tell you something, the price of delay is always higher than the price of discipline. The longer you wait, the more expensive it becomes. I've met people who've been meaning to change for 10 years, and every year their bill gets bigger. The debt compounds. And soon, it's not just a missed opportunity, it's an identity of hesitation. Then comes gossip, a subtle, poisonous debit. Every time you speak about someone instead of to them, you're not just spending words, you're spending credibility. You think it's harmless, but it erodes your reputation like slow corrosion on steel. It weakens your character account. Trust is the most valuable currency in life, and gossip spends it faster than anything else. Stop making withdrawals you can't afford. And let's not forget excuses, the clever accountant of failure. Excuses make your balance sheet look clean while hiding the losses. They disguise mistakes as misfortune, laziness as bad timing. Every time you say, "I can't," because you drain the account of your own belief. And belief, my friend, is the foundation for every other deposit you'll ever make. Without it, your checks bounce. Without it, discipline doesn't stick, vision doesn't matter, and effort feels pointless. Now, there's another kind of debit that most people ignore: wasted time. Not the kind you see, but the kind that slips through unnoticed. 5 minutes of scrolling here, 10 minutes of distraction there, until suddenly hours are gone. You wouldn't throw away $50 every morning, but you'll throw away time, the most valuable currency you'll ever own. Remember, money lost can be earned back. Time lost is gone forever. Every wasted minute is a withdrawal from your potential that will never be refunded. Here's the truth. These small depletions compound faster than the gains. A business can take years to grow and collapse in a single quarter of neglect. Life works the same way. 1 week of bad decisions won't destroy you, but 1 year of unconscious withdrawals will. Neglect is like rust. It works silently, but it never sleeps. So what's the antidote? Awareness. The art of tracking your transactions. The courage to look at your books without denial or excuses. See, most people never do an internal audit until life forces them to, until the crisis, the heartbreak, the financial collapse, or the health scare. But wise people, they audit often. They don't wait for a wake-up call. They sit down regularly with clarity and humility and ask, where did I invest well? Where did I waste? That's not self-criticism, that's self-leadership. Because awareness creates choice. You can't fix what you won't face. And once you bring your debits into the light, they lose their power. Neglect grows in the dark. It dies in awareness. I'll tell you one of the simplest tools I've ever used to track my life, journaling. Nothing fancy, no perfect sentences, just reflection. Each night, ask yourself, what did I deposit today? What did I withdraw? Where did I honor my goals, and where did I trade them for comfort? 5 minutes with a notebook can change the trajectory of your entire life. Because when you can see the pattern, you can change the pattern. Reflection is the mirror where growth begins. It's the pause that turns mistakes into lessons, lessons into strategy, and strategy into transformation. Without reflection, you repeat. With it, you evolve. And here's another habit goal review. Don't just write your goals once and let them collect dust. Goals are not decorations, they're directions. Check them weekly. Measure progress, not perfection. A goal ignored becomes a liability. It drains motivation. But a goal reviewed becomes an asset. It deposits clarity. Here's what separates the successful from the spectators. The successful treat their life like a business that demands oversight. They track every major transaction. They don't let leaks hide under busy days. They know that unchecked losses multiply. The spectators, on the other hand, live in blind optimism. They think if they don't look, maybe the balance will fix itself. But reality always audits the books, and interest on ignorance is cruel. So take a good, honest look at your personal accounting, not with shame, but with courage. The numbers don't lie, but they do tell the truth. And truth, even when it stings, is always cheaper than denial. You see, there's a beautiful rhythm to life when you start living with awareness. Every reflection becomes a reconciliation. Every realization becomes a reset. You stop running from the balance sheet and start designing it. You turn your energy from regret to responsibility. That's when you realize the ledger of your life isn't a punishment. It's a privilege. It's your map, your feedback, your story in progress. You can't erase the past entries, but you can write the next ones differently. The pen is still in your hand. So before you move on, pause tonight. Think back over the last 24 hours. Which actions added to your balance? Which ones drained it? Where are you overdrawn and where are you abundant? Write it down. Face it, because facing it, that's how the balance begins to change. The ledger never lies, but it also never closes. There comes a moment in every serious person's life when they stop pretending that their account will magically correct itself. I call that moment the turning point audit. It's when you finally sit down with the truth, not the filtered story, not the justifications, the real numbers. You realize that your potential has been overdrafted not by bad luck, but by unnoticed habits. You see that the overdraft fees of wasted time, broken promises, and neglected dreams have been quietly accumulating for years. And that realization, while painful, is also the most powerful day of your life. Because the turning point is never about shame, it's about clarity. It's the day you stop playing emotional accounting and start practicing logical inventory. You stop saying, I'm just not that kind of person. And you start asking, what habits got me here and what habits can get me out? It's the day you stop blaming the economy, your boss, your childhood, your past, and you start auditing the only thing you ever truly control, your daily behavior. Most people will never reach that moment. They'll stay trapped in the story that circumstances decide outcomes. But if you're listening now, you're not most people. You're ready to look at the ledger and take ownership of the numbers. Because the moment you take responsibility, the balance begins to shift not by magic, but by mathematics. The same law that punished neglect will now reward consistency. Here's the first truth of the turning point. Your life will not change until your standards change. You can't live a first-class life with second-rate habits. You can't deposit success into a ledger that's full of excuses. Every habit either funds your vision or finances your frustration. And the good news, you can rewrite the formula anytime you choose. Start with one small change. Don't try to overhaul everything at once. That's emotional fantasy. Real transformation is arithmetic. It's a matter of one more deposit and one less debit, repeated long enough to change the trend. You don't need to rebuild your whole life. You just need to reverse the ratio. Maybe your first deposit is waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's setting aside 15 minutes to read instead of scrolling. Maybe it's planning tomorrow before it arrives. Tiny entries, yes, but massive leverage over time. The goal isn't perfection, it's momentum. Because once your ledger starts moving in the right direction, it gains compound interest in confidence, energy, and clarity. Now let's talk about the soil your habits grow in your environment. If you keep your ledger in the wrong place, the numbers will always get distorted. You can't expect savings to grow in a room full of spenders. You can't expect focus to flourish in a crowd addicted to distraction. If you want your account to rise, change the environment that drains it. That might mean rearranging your physical space, cleaning your desk, decluttering your room, creating a corner of focus. It might mean curating your digital environment, unfollowing negativity, muting noise, surrounding yourself with knowledge. Or, hardest of all, it might mean reviewing your associations. Let me tell you something timeless. Association is the interest rate of your life. The people you spend the most time with either pay you or cost you. Some friends add deposits of energy, ideas, and encouragement. Others withdraw your time, your focus, and your belief. You know who they are. Every conversation with them ends in discouragement. Every plan becomes a complaint session. You can't afford those transactions anymore. Protect your account, even if it means closing some long-standing accounts that no longer serve your growth. Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That's not philosophy, that's accounting. You absorb their standards, their expectations, their outlook. You start using their excuses, borrowing their fears, and before you know it, your ledger reflects their balance, not yours. So make it a priority to audit your associations. Who makes you think bigger? Who holds you accountable? Who inspires discipline instead of distraction? Those are the people who will multiply your deposits. And here's another truth. Repetition builds wealth. Habits are like grooves in a record. The more often you repeat them, the deeper they go. At first, the needle skips. It feels unnatural, forced, exhausting, but stay with it. One day, what was once difficult becomes automatic. What once required discipline now happens by default. That's the power of habit, compounding slow at first, then unstoppable. When you begin to value consistency over intensity, everything changes. Anyone can be motivated for a weekend. It takes maturity to stay disciplined for a decade. Motivation is emotion, discipline is strategy. Motivation will get you started, but only discipline will keep your ledger in the black. And when you slip because you will, don't throw away the ledger. Pick it back up and start again. The habit of recommitting is itself a powerful deposit. Progress isn't about never failing, it's about never staying down. Every restart builds resilience. Every restart strengthens belief. The balance grows not from perfection, but from persistence. You know what the compound effect really is? It's time rewarding loyalty. Time pays compound interest to those who stay faithful to their small disciplines long after the excitement fades. Every page you read, every workout you finish, every plan you execute, time adds interest quietly, invisibly, until one day everyone else calls it overnight success. So let's make this practical. Choose one habit today, not 10, just one that you'll start depositing consistently. Write it down, protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. The stronger your habits, the safer your future. The weaker your habits, the poorer your potential. And if you ever doubt that one habit can make a difference, remember this. One seed doesn't make a forest, but it starts one. Keep planting, keep watering. The ledger will keep score. The turnaround begins not with a miracle, but with a single line item that says, "Today I started again." Now, let's zoom out, because the ledger of life is not just about money, work, or productivity. It's about something far deeper. It's about building true wealth, the kind that doesn't vanish with a market crash or fade with age. The richest lives aren't built on bank balances alone. They're built on character, contribution, and consistency. The true surplus is spiritual, emotional, and relational. That's the account that sustains you when everything else falls apart. Think for a moment about the people you admire most. The ones who walk into a room and seem to carry light with them. The ones who don't just have success, they embody it. It's not their cars, their homes, or their titles that impress you. It's their calm, their certainty, their kindness, their wisdom. These people didn't stumble into wealth, they built it, line by line, through daily deposits of integrity, gratitude, and generosity. Kindness is a deposit. Every time you choose patience over anger, compassion over criticism, you invest in relationships that pay dividends forever. Respect is a deposit. When you keep your word, when you show up on time, when you take responsibility instead of pointing fingers, you increase your credibility, and credibility is the interest-bearing account of trust. Gratitude is a deposit. Every moment you stop and appreciate what you already have, you raise your internal credit limit for future blessings. And then there's discipline, perhaps the rarest currency of all. Every act of discipline increases your personal stock value. Every time you follow through on what you said you would do, even when no one's watching, you add another line of capital to your life's balance sheet. Discipline doesn't just buy success, it buys self-respect. And that's a form of wealth no one can tax or take away. Here's what most people miss. All the money in the world can't save a bankrupt character. You can deposit fortune into your account, but still be emotionally overdrawn. You can be rich in possessions, yet poor in peace. You can buy comfort, but not confidence. Pleasure, but not purpose. True wealth, the kind that endures, is built through habits that feed the soul, not just the schedule. So I want you to think of your life as a portfolio with multiple accounts. Yes, there's your financial account, but there's also your relationship account, your health account, your learning account, and your spiritual account. Each one needs consistent deposits, or it will decay. You can't expect love to grow without communication. You can't expect health to last without movement. You can't expect wisdom to deepen without study. And you can't expect peace to remain without gratitude. The habit ledger touches them all. When you start managing these accounts with intention, you begin to experience compound growth in every area of your life. Your energy rises, your confidence stabilizes, your relationships deepen. You start to walk through life with a quiet assurance because you know your books are balanced. You're not borrowing joy from tomorrow to pay for distractions today. You're living in surplus, not survival. That's what I call abundant living. It's not about excess. It's about efficiency. It's about alignment when your habits, your values, and your goals all move in the same direction. You stop chasing highs and start compounding progress. And suddenly you realize that the wealthiest life is one where you no longer need to prove anything because your results speak for themselves. Now, let's get practical again. Before you go to bed tonight, I want you to ask yourself a few powerful questions. What deposits did I make today? Did I invest in my growth, my health, my relationships, my craft? Did I honor my commitments, even the small ones? And then ask, what withdrawals did I allow? Did I spend time on distractions that add no value? Did I let negativity rent space in my mind without paying rent? Did I spend energy on problems instead of solutions? When you live this way intentionally, consciously, your awareness becomes your wealth. You start making better trades. You stop exchanging long-term fulfillment for short-term relief. You stop overdrafting your future just to stay comfortable in the present. You become the kind of person who checks the books not out of fear, but out of mastery. And here's the ultimate secret. What you're not changing, you're choosing. If you ignore your deficits, you're still responsible for the balance. If you celebrate your deposits, keep making them. The ledger rewards awareness. Every act of responsibility compounds into freedom. Every day of discipline compounds into confidence. Every moment of gratitude compounds into joy. So take ownership. Be the kind of person who balances their own books before life forces an audit. Build a life that earns interest in wisdom, in health, in purpose, in love. Let your habits become your silent partners in creating a legacy that outlives you. Because in the end, the question isn't whether life keeps score, it's whether you do. The ledger is always open. The balance is always changing. And every sunrise is a new transaction waiting to be written. So choose wisely. Make one more deposit of effort, of kindness, of learning, of discipline today. Make another tomorrow, then another. And watch how the small numbers become your fortune. Because when it's all said and done, wealth is not what you hold, it's what you've built inside. Keep making deposits. Keep growing your account. The best is yet to come.